Florida believes in borders, and it moves fast. 8 days is all it took to build Alligator Alcatraz. It's a place where criminal illegal aliens will be housed before they're shipped out. Alligator Alcatraz is nestled deep in the Everglades. It's surrounded by thousands of feet of barbed wire. The facility can accommodate as many as 3,000 illegals. Nice bunk beds. Now, contrary to liberal complaints, there are medical facilities and other equipment there as well. And the first group of new residents is expected to arrive tomorrow.
The Alligator Alpha the idea that it's done to your immigrant and escape. They just get eaten by an alligator or a snake.
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If the snakes are fast, but alligators, but we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%, okay? Not a good thing.
Here to discuss this is Stephen Miller, White House Chief of Staff for Policy. Stephen, good to see you tonight. Now, why is the facility needed? Americans watching this, and I love it, but why is it needed? And will you ask other states to follow suit with a similar type of facility, even if you don't have alligators?
Well, the first and most important reason it's needed, Laura, is that thanks to President Trump's massive increase in ICE arrests nationwide, all of the ICE beds have been filled up. So we need to begin contracting immediately to expand the number of ICE beds. And this partnership with the state of Florida, and Florida is using a law known as 287G that allows state and local law enforcement deputized by the Secretary of Homeland Security to conduct immigration functions. So this is a state facility that's supported by DHS that allows us to significantly expand our bed space. So the offer is we want to go to every Republican state. Now, of course, in a sane country, Democrats would do it too, but they love the illegals. They hate the Americans. We want every governor of a red state, and if you're watching tonight, pick up the phone, call DHS, work with us to build facilities in your state so that we can get the illegals out, we can get the criminals out. And also, very importantly, Laura, we need Congress to pass the big, beautiful bill which contains the funding that ICE desperately needs to carry out the mass deportation agenda.
Now, we reach out to other states, Stephen, and a lot of them are open to helping. Alaska told us that we don't have alligators, but we have lots of bears. However, they aren't aware of any plans for an Alaska version of bear. I said bear Alcatraz. So, Stephen, there's good news there. Not everybody is happy about this, however. Democrat state reps in Florida are going crazy about this. Watch.
Disgusting. What's happening in the Everglades isn't immigration enforcement. It's absolute political theater. What you are doing is dehumanizing. It's cruel. That is not enforcement. That's bullying.
Not enforcement. It's bullying. It's disgusting, and it's dehumanizing. Stephen.
Well, first of all, another answer to your question of why it's needed is there have been repeated multiple attempts by violent criminal aliens and cartel thugs to escape ICE detention, individuals who present a clear and present danger to public safety. Under President Trump's leadership, we are targeting 8 foreign terrorist organizations, including 6 Mexican drug cartels that threaten the foreign policy, the public safety, the national security of the United States. These are dangerous, ruthless organizations. A facility like this ensures the security of the officers who work there and ensures the security of the public, lest there be an attempted jailbreak. And again, we are dealing with the worst of the worst, the most heinous of the most heinous. And like you said, they still receive a quality of care that is superior to the quality of care provided with American jails for American citizens in many cases. And here's another very important point. What's dehumanizing is when American citizens are stripped of their rights and their liberties by the invasion of illegal aliens. What is dehumanizing is when Democrats let illegal alien rapists into the country to attack our children. That is dehumanizing. What reclaims our humanity is when we get these monsters off the street and we put them where they can't hurt anybody. And when they see the consequences for their conduct, they will begin and they will continue to self-deport and get back home to avoid what President Trump is going to deliver.
Stephen, I'm going to ask you what I just asked Secretary Bessent about Elon Musk's threat today and yesterday to primary Republicans who campaigned for fiscal restraint yet voted for the big, beautiful bill. He is furious for a lot of reasons, but is mostly citing the failure to rein in costs and spending. Your reaction to this tonight?
Well, this is the largest spending cut, Laura, in American history. Think about what's in this bill. The largest tax cut and reform in American history. The largest spending cut in American history. The largest welfare reform in American history. The largest reduction in federal spending ever achieved in a single bill. And then it also includes the most robust, comprehensive border security and immigration enforcement package we've ever seen. One that will allow us to deport millions upon millions of invaders. To oppose this bill is to support the invasion. To oppose this bill is to support the continued giveaways and freebies to cheaters and scam artists. To oppose this bill is to support a 68% tax hike on the American public. And it's also to oppose this bill is to support a deprivation of all of the tax benefits that President Trump is fighting to deliver the middle class, like no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. The Senate passed this bill just today, demonstrating that they are fighting for President Trump. They are fighting for his agenda. They are not going to listen to an outside voice that does not represent the interests of the American people or the interests of the Republican Party. And the House is going to rally behind President Trump to pass this bill for America.
All right, Stephen, as always, thank you very much. Have a wonderful Independence Day.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.